Chapter 2. Small Change. I woke up the next morning hoping I had gone insane. That sounds bad, but insanity was familiar territory compared to magical capitalism. If the system was fake, then yesterday had been simple. Tragic, but simple. Megan dumped me. I hallucinated a convenience store interface, and today I could begin the long, humiliating process of becoming normal again. I lay in bed and stared at the ceiling. There was a brown water stain in the corner. I had been meaning to call the landlord about it for 6 months. Every time I noticed it, I told myself I would handle it later. Later was where most of my responsibilities went to die. Shop, I whispered. Nothing happened. For half a second, I felt relieved. Then I realized my face was half buried in the pillow. I rolled over, cleared my throat, and said, "Shop." A blue window opened above my face. Goodwill farming system. Current Goodwill points. 398. Tier, 0 shop available, I screamed. Not loudly. A small, private scream. The kind a man makes when reality taps him on the forehead and says, "Good morning, idiot." Then I laughed. It was real. Still real. I opened the food category. Banana, 1 GP. Boiled egg, 1 GP. Granola bar, 1 GP. Instant noodles, 2 GP. Packaged sandwich, 3 GP. I bought a banana, a boiled egg, a packaged sandwich, and a chocolate bar because apparently being chosen by a supernatural system turned me into a raccoon with a debit card. Total cost, 7 GP. Current Goodwill points, 391. I stared at that number. 7 points had bought me breakfast and emotional support chocolate. Yesterday, one old woman had paid me 400. Not money, technically. Better than money in some ways. Money had rent and taxes and account balances. Goodwill points had instant bananas. I ate my breakfast sitting on the edge of my bed, chewing slowly while staring at the shop window. A dangerous thought bloomed in my head. My job paid me every 2 weeks. People could apparently pay me every few seconds. All I had to do was make them feel good. That sounded noble if said by a better person. Unfortunately, I was the one thinking it. By the time I got on the bus, my eyes had changed. Not physically, probably, but I saw people differently. A woman in scrubs rubbed her eyes. A college kid fought with tangled earbuds. An older man stood near the front, gripping a pole while younger people occupied seats with the moral confidence of furniture. Yesterday's Claude would have looked at him and thought, rough. Today's Claude thought, available yield. I stood. "Sir, you can sit here." The older man blinked. "You sure?" "Yeah, I'm getting off soon." That was a lie. I had 9 stops left. He sat down and gave me a grateful nod. Chime. Positive feeling detected. Goodwill acquired, 200 points. My hand tightened around the overhead rail. 200. 200. For standing. I stared at the bus floor and felt something awaken inside me. It was not compassion. It had claws. At the next stop, a tired mother got on carrying a toddler and 2 bags. I looked around. Nobody moved. My seat was already gone, but I had options. I stepped closer, took one of the bags, and said, "Here, let me hold that." She hesitated. Then relief softened her face. "Thank you." Chime. Positive feeling detected. Goodwill acquired, 300 points. I almost dropped the bag. 500 points before work. 500. I had spent years dragging myself to the office for a paycheck that made me question higher education. Now I had made more supernatural purchasing power on public transportation than I knew what to do with. By the time I reached Graham and Wells Logistics, my current balance was 891 GP, and I was walking like a man who had discovered oil under a church bake sale. The lobby smelled like floor polish and burnt coffee. Sofia Garcia was behind the reception desk, phone pinned between shoulder and ear, fighting the printer. The printer made a grinding noise. Sofia closed her eyes. "Please don't do this today." I stopped. The elevator doors opened. People walked in. I did not. There are moments in life when a man must choose who he wants to be. Apparently, I wanted to be a printer vulture. "Want me to try?" I asked. Sophia looked up. "You know printers?" "No," I said, "but I know how to open things," and looked disappointed. She laughed. "No chime. Cheap amusement." Noted. She stepped aside. The paper tray was jammed. Someone had shoved paper into it like they were punishing the machine. I pulled out the crumpled sheets, checked for torn bits, slid the tray back in, and pressed the blinking button. The printer beeped. Then it printed. Sophia clasped her hands together. Oh my God. Thank you. You saved me from calling IT. Chime. Positive feeling detected. Goodwill acquired. 400 points. My knees nearly weakened. 400. For printer violence prevention. I kept my face calm through an act of will that should have earned its own points. No problem, I said. Seriously, Sophia said. People always walk past when something's broken. I usually did too. But saying that seemed unprofitable. Rough morning? I asked. She looked surprised. That hurt a little. Then she told me about her brother borrowing her car and returning it nearly empty, her landlord scheduling maintenance without warning, and her mother calling too early about a cousin's wedding in San Antonio. Normally, this was the point where I would nod, say that's crazy, and flee. Instead, I listened like a man watching coins fall from the sky. The first chime came when she laughed. Goodwill acquired. 100 points. The second came when she sighed in relief. Goodwill acquired. 200 points. The third came when she said, Thanks for listening, Claude. I needed that. Goodwill acquired. 300 points. I walked to my desk with 1,891 GP and a deeply unsettling sense that human connection had become a slot machine. Marcus Bell looked up from his monitor. You're late. By 2 minutes. That's late for a man with no ambition. I have ambition now. Marcus blinked. I sat down. He leaned slowly around the cubicle wall. That was concerning. I opened my computer, ignored my emails, and opened the shop. Office category. Ballpoint pen, 1 GP. Notebook, 3 GP. Sticky notes, 2 GP. Stapler, 4 GP. Tape, 2 GP. USB cable, 3 GP. Phone charger, 5 GP. Printer paper, 6 GP. Medical category. Pain reliever, 4 GP. Cough drops, 2 GP. Bandages, 3 GP. Antacid, 2 GP. Hand sanitizer, 3 GP. Tissues, 2 GP. Food and drinks were even cheaper. I stared at the prices, then at my balance, then back at the prices. A strange calm settled over me. The calm of a man about to make a very stupid bulk purchase. I bought 5 phone chargers, 10 packs of tissues, 5 hand sanitizers, pain relievers, cough drops, granola bars, sticky notes, pins, 2 staplers, batteries, and 1 emergency umbrella. Items appeared inside my desk drawers until they could barely close. I had spent less than 150 GP. Less than half a printer rescue. My drawer was now better stocked than some convenience stores. At 10:23, Kevin Chun from compliance walked past, patting his pockets with visible irritation. Kevin was neat, sharp, and carried himself like every hallway was a performance review. We were not enemies. Enemies required passion. We were just co-workers who had mutually agreed not to enjoy each other. Looking for something? I asked. My charger, he said. Left it at home. I opened my drawer. A heavenly glow did not come out, but it should have. I've got one. Kevin paused. You do? Emergency spare. He looked suspicious. Since when? Since I became a man of preparedness. That sounds fake. It is, but the charger works. He took it. A moment later, he nodded. Thanks. Chime. Goodwill acquired. 300 points. 300. From Kevin. Kevin, whose emotional range usually ran from minor audit to tax penalty. I smiled too widely. Kevin narrowed his eyes. Why are you looking at me like that? No reason. He left faster. Marcus slowly rolled his chair into view. Claude. What? Why do you have 5 phone chargers? Preparedness. Why did you say that like a cult word? I closed my drawer with my knee. It did not close all the way. Marcus looked down. A pack of tissues slid out. Then a granola bar. Then another granola bar. Marcus stared. I stared. A third granola bar fell onto the carpet. You selling snacks? He asked. No. Are you panic nesting? Maybe. He picked up one of the granola bars. Can I have this? I almost said no. Then I saw his casual smile. Sure, I said. He tore it open. Thanks, man. Chime. Goodwill acquired. 100 points. I stared at him eating the granola bar. 100 points. For a granola bar that cost 1. A 100 times return. My brain made a sound like a cash register falling downstairs. At lunch, I became unbearable. Not openly. I was still Claude Simmons, operations analyst, professional underachiever. But internally, I had transformed into a dragon sitting on a pile of individually wrapped peppermints. Lisa Morgan from accounting coughed once. I appeared beside her desk with cough drops. Andrew Miller, the new intern, looked lost. I guided him to the supply room, the break room, and the restroom with the confidence of a medieval scout. Patty Reynolds, our office manager, cursed at the coffee machine. I cleaned the grounds container, wiped the counter, and restarted it. Coffee poured. Patty stared at me. Well, she said. Thank you, Claude. Chime. Goodwill acquired. 500 points. 500. From Patty. I nearly ascended. Then she pointed at me. Don't make this a one-day personality. That hit me directly in the chest. What? You heard me. She walked away with her coffee. I stood there holding a damp paper towel. Don't make this a one-day personality. That was unfair. Accurate, but unfair. By 3 p.m., I had earned over 4,000 GP. I knew because I checked every 12 seconds like a man with a gambling problem and a private scoreboard. The office had changed around me. Sophia waved. Lisa told someone I had cough drops. Andrew smiled at me like I was his assigned adult. Kevin returned the charger and said, "Thanks again," with visible discomfort. Chime. Goodwill acquired. 100 points. Even delayed gratitude paid. I had discovered emotional residual income. Marcus watched me from his desk, chewing the end of a pen. Finally, he rolled over. All right, he said. What happened? What do you mean? You fixed Sophia's printer, gave Kevin a charger, helped Patty, supplied Lisa with medicine, gave me food, and escorted Andrew around like a nervous golden retriever. I'm being helpful. That's what worries me. Maybe I'm trying to improve. Marcus's expression shifted. Because of Megan? The name punched the mood out of me. I looked at my screen. Marcus softened. She did it. I said nothing. Sorry, man. Chime. Goodwill acquired. 200 points. I hated that. Not enough to reject it. But I hated it. Marcus's sympathy had become income. For one uncomfortable second, the whole thing felt rotten. Then my balance ticked upward, and the rotten feeling got quieter. No, I said slowly. I'm not good. Marcus blinked. So did I? The honesty had escaped before I could calculate it. He nodded. Yeah, breakups suck. She said I was absent. Ouch. Yeah. Marcus leaned back. For what it's worth, you were very present today. Weirdly present. Suspiciously present. But present. I laughed. Chime. Goodwill acquired. 300 points. Emotional vulnerability also paid. That was either beautiful or horrifying. Probably both. By the time I left work, my balance was stupid. Absolutely stupid. I had enough points to buy enough Tier 0 goods to make my apartment look like a disaster relief warehouse. And what had I done? Basic decency. Light maintenance. Snack distribution. Listening. I stood at the bus stop after work, staring at passing strangers. The sky was gray. Rain threatened, but had not started. People clustered beneath the shelter, tired and unaware that the most dangerous man on Madison Street was currently deciding whether to become an umbrella tycoon. I opened the shop. Umbrella, 5 GP. 5. 5 points. A single grateful nod on the bus had paid for 40 umbrellas. I bought 20. They appeared in my backpack. The sudden weight almost dragged me backward. I stumbled, caught myself, and pretended nothing happened. A woman nearby glanced at me. I smiled normally. Or tried to. My backpack now contained 20 umbrellas, several granola bars, tissues, chargers, and the moral foundation of a future problem. The first raindrop hit the sidewalk. Then another. A woman in a gray coat looked up and cursed softly. My hand moved toward my backpack, then stopped. If I gave her an umbrella now, that was one reaction. If I waited until the rain got worse, more people would need them. A decent person would have helped immediately. Yesterday's Claude would not have cared. Today's Claude stood under the bus shelter with 20 umbrellas on his back, watching the weather like a farmer watching clouds roll over a dry field. The rain strengthened. People began to shift, complain, cover their heads with bags. My smile widened. Not noble. Not kind. Harvest ready. I reached into my backpack and whispered, "Ladies and gentlemen, let's make agriculture weird."